Steven Escobar, thank you so much for coming on Rollin with Olan. I cannot even tell you how excited I am to have you here, Steven.
Okay. Well, thanks for having me.
Oh my God, this really is it's fabulous. I can't wait to get into some things. And first of all, I wanted to start with you and go back to your early days. I'm sure a lot of people do, but go back to your early days.
Yeah.
When you were a kid, did you have any idea or any kind of dreams of what you wanted to do?
Absolutely, yeah. I believe the first movie I ever saw in the theater was Benji. And my parents took me to this little, I grew up in a little town in South Texas, and there was only one theater in there, in that little town in the square. And Benji was the first movie they took me to, and I fell in love with this little dog and the story of how this dog finds his way to help the kid. I guess that was kidnapped or something. And after that, I just kind of fell in love with the idea of basically filmmaking and storytelling. And at the time, there was no internet and no way of finding out how you got into this business.
Yeah.
So I had to pave my own way to figure out, where do you study, or how do you get into this business? And I believe in middle school, I started looking at magazines, and I found American Cinematographer. And at the time, that's what I wanted to do. I kind of fell in love with photography.
Yeah.
And so throughout middle school and high school, I got into photography. I started taking classes. My parents ended up buying me a black and white darkroom, and I turned the bathroom into a darkroom.
Oh,
so I was taking pictures and developing everything in the, basically I had to seal off all the light and everything just in order to be able to get the film to turn into a darkroom, or the room. And just started taking pictures, and then somebody hired me to take their wedding pictures, and I started doing that. Then I found out that my high school had a television program. So I decided to take TV. It was radio and television. And at the time, it was a vocational class. So everyone who took it were people that had no desire to go to college or anything like that. So I was in class with a lot of people who were just oh, let's just, it's a 3-hour course, so let's rent out the camera and let's go to somebody's house and smoke pot for the rest of the day or something. And here I was trying to I want to do something, I want to produce a short film or something. And nobody really had a desire to do that. So I ended up having to write my own thing, and got the students in the class to be in it and things like that. And I think my senior year, I ended up winning. I did a commercial that went to state competition. And I think I didn't win, but I think I got the top 3 or something like that.
Yeah.
So that kind of got me going. And before my senior year, there was a teacher who I wanted to go to NYU, and I started looking into the program, started asking him about what is this? What's an A/B roll, and how do you edit, and what is all this stuff on film? Because I'd never touched film; it was always video. Yeah. And at the time, we had VHS and 3/4 machines that had the umbilical cord to the camera, and so everything was all video. Most of the people that were in these classes ended up working in news, and so I wasn't interested in that.
Yeah. So
I wanted to find a way to get into the film industry, and that's kind of how I paved my way.
Yeah.
And then my dad passed away my senior year, and so that kind of left a weird bump in the road. But I ended up going to a school called Sam Houston State, which is right outside of Houston, and they had a TV program there. And so I went my freshman year. Of course, as a freshman and knowing that your mom's by herself, I decided
stay nearby.
Yeah, I wanted to stay close. I wasn't really doing too well in classes and stuff, so I ended up moving back home. And I took some classes that summer after my freshman year, and then I saw this little advertisement for, we're producing a made-for-television movie, and it's a class that you can take. So I was like, oh wow. So basically what it was is like, it was part of the theater. The first part of the summer was what they call it pass theater. So it was like summer stock theater.
Yeah.
And then the second half of the summer was the television side. So like most of the actors would be in the movie. Everyone in the class, it was the only class you could take. You basically produced a movie in 6 weeks, and then it aired on local television.
Oh, that's great.
So,
that's great.
So that's kind of how I got my experience doing like behind the scenes.
Yeah, yeah.
Was able to work with people that wanted to do that.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
My professor at the time was really, he saw that I was into it.
He saw the potential. He saw that, hey,
exactly.
little Steven is...
So he encouraged me.
Yeah.
And so I owe him a lot, and I owe both my teachers in high school, like all that. They pushed me and they kept me going, and they knew that I wanted to do it. So after that, I was just like trying to pave my way.
Well, after that, you took off, and we're going to get into that because I mean it's incredible. I mean your resume is like the who. I mean. It's beyond. As a matter of fact, I have it right here just to show everybody. This isn't just one page. This is 2 pages, and it is really, I mean, what's on here is incredible. And I hope you didn't see his phone number. But if you did, call him for a job. Yeah. Steven, your resume really is, it blows me away. But what you have done over the years, and, you know, it's interesting you talk about, you know, where you started in the class, where there was all the stoners, and then you were the one that said, hey, I'm taking this to the next level, Who knows what all those people are doing right now?
Well, a lot of them are actually doing...
Just doing this.
Some of them stay the news, some of them are...
Doing the news and sitting around and watching movies and getting high. Still,
maybe.
Yeah, something like that. But you know, you basically... You've done so much since then, and you're continuously going, and I believe it was 1996. You produced a Latin music video for an artist by the name of Selena. And then you went on and worked on the Warner Brothers movie, Selena. How did that all come about?
Well, right before that, I was producing a television show with my first job. I worked for an advertising agency that did commercials, local and regional, and then they were also a production company. So not only, there was like, at the time, it was unheard of to have an ad agency and a production company combined. Usually you separate the two. And so this company was also producing a local, like, do you remember like the music video shows where they had hosts that would go out on location?
Yes.
And it's like,
talk to people.
Yeah, and then now here's so-and-so. And it was called Tejano, or I'm sorry, at the time it was Budweiser's Dance Time in Texas. So it was sponsored by Budweiser. It was a country show. So we got to go to all these like country events,
country western things,
and met a lot of artists from, you know, and the people that would come to South Texas, and we would interview them. We put them on the show. We would have 2 hosts. Then the show started losing ratings and stuff, so they decided, well, let's try to find a new market. And Tejano music, which is like a Tex-Mex Latin style of music, is one of the big, like, you know, it's one of the big, what do you call it, like music
for the community.
Yeah, it's a music and country. I mean, I'm sorry, Tejano and country.
Right.
So we decided to start this show called Tejano Country.
Yeah, Tejano and country is Latin and country, basically.
So a lot of these artists are all local in the Tejano music industry. And so I basically was handed, here's the format that we want to do, and we know that you can, you know, since you have a Latin background, you can contact these record companies and try to get them to be on board and stuff like that. And there was a friend of mine that I went to college with that was also producing the same type of format, but it was just Tejano music. So we were kind of like in competition in a way, but that was my drive. And so I produced this new format that was Tejano music and country music. So we got all these artists in. The show ran for like 2 years. Then, you know, then the sad thing was that the show was being sold to a radio station out of San Antonio, who was had the largest Tejano market in the country, and they wanted to bring in and brand this show to be part of them because they wanted to branch out into television. Well, I had to work with a radio programmer who knew nothing about television, who decided he was going to be the producer of this show. And so we went to someplace in Arizona, and we were doing like this Thanksgiving special with the top like 5 artists in Tejano music, and they were all going to come together, and we're going to have this big Thanksgiving dinner, and we all show up, and that guy doesn't show up.
Oh my.
And I'm like left,
Doing
trying,
everything.
because I had no script.
Yeah.
Usually I would script out like what the hosts were going to say, who we're going to have on the show, what music videos we're gonna like have on there, so they can say, okay, here's Selena and whatever.
Yeah.
Let's watch it.
Yeah.
And I had nothing, so I had to basically produce this whole show on my own. Found out the guy was on coke somewhere.
Oh boy.
And then I was blamed for the entire incident because I wasn't prepared.
Because you weren't prepared, and you had to do all this stuff, and your plate was heavy, heavy that you were running from point A to point B trying to get it all done.
Exactly.
And so you were blamed for the whole thing.
And so eventually I was let go.
Yeah, but even being let go, how old were you around that?
I was like 21, 22.
Okay, but still, 21, 22, doing what you were doing at that time. I mean, that's incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, and that only goes to show you kind of where you are right now and how much you had to really, fight to get to where you're at. I mean, that one incident shows you how they were like, pissed at you, they let you go, but then you moved on. You got up and moved on. There's so many people that wouldn't. There's so many people that would say, you know what, this isn't me. I'm not cut out for this. But you moved on, and you continued doing other things, and you've gone into all kinds of different things. Now, we haven't even gotten to the point that you're a huge editor, but you did a lot before you even got into editing.
Right.
You were a filmmaker. And you still are, but you're a filmmaker, and you've done all kinds of filmmaking. So what moved you, where'd you go from that point in time, getting fired?
Going from that point, like I eventually like left on my own because I didn't want to get fired. So like a week later, I get a phone call from Abraham Quintanilla, who's Selena's father. And this is right after she passed away. So he wanted to set up a video production company that was going to produce music videos for his own artists, because he had other artists that he wanted to kind of bring up. And so he called me, and I went to go work with him. And I basically started his production. We bought a 16 millimeter camera. We bought like the first Digi-Beta camera at the time. We bought an Avid. I had never used an Avid, so like Avid was like just ramping up into like the film industry and TV. So I learned how to use that, and that was like, I came from a background of just using tape to tape. So basically I was producing music videos of Selena after she passed away, of songs that he was basically remixing and releasing new albums and stuff like that. So we were able to like take old footage that she had, put the music video together, and then at that same time, Warner Brothers and Greg Nava, who's the director of Selena, were talking to Abraham about producing the movie. So I was able to go through that whole process and go through the audition process. I
Amazing.
Basically went to Miami. I was here in LA. I saw like that whole world that opened up, and I was kind of like, wow, this is kind of what I want to do.
Yeah. This is where, I mean, and with that, because obviously you knew the fame that Selena had, and now we know even more so now.
Right.
Were you like at that point pinching yourself a little bit, like going, what the heck?
There was no time to. It was just like everything was just happening so fast, and I was just doing my job. My like biggest job in that movie was bringing all the footage on VHS and betas and stuff from Selena, and I had to fly to LA to some post house in Hollywood and make sure that they weren't making extra copies, because Abraham wanted, he was so like like
hands-on,
Yeah,
controlling.
he controlling.
He wanted to make sure.
He didn't
and
want
you were
that
the
footage.
caregiver.
Yeah.
You were the person with that. And I mean, that was like, that was like traveling with gold.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And if I had let it go, then I would have been in big trouble.
You would have gotten fired again.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And, later on, we found out that there was a copy made, and it was floating around that all these people.
How do you think that happened?
Somebody in the that made
The
a
inner
copy
circle?
must have like kept a copy or made a second copy, and it's a dub house, and
Yeah.
you just don't know where things could get plugged in.
Who
and
has
go
what, and what have you.
go to another machine
Yeah.
or something. So
But
anyhow,
you-
that was basically like my biggest job there. Besides doing like behind the scenes, we basically filmed everything behind the scenes, and we ended up releasing like a behind the scenes documentary that was also put together with her live performance at the I think the Houston Livestock Show. That's like the famous thing.
Yeah.
Basically the famous performance that's in the movie at the beginning.
Oh, gotcha.
And so that's like part of a DVD that exists somewhere.
Amazing. So you went from doing that, which is an incredible feat right there, but you went from doing that to moving on, and then of course getting more into editing and what have you. So how did you then go from there? Because my audience is definitely, they've got to be, just thinking about Selena right now and what you did there. But how did you go from there to then becoming an editor?
Well, I was living in San Antonio at the time, and I met Joe Castro, my husband now, and he had lived out here in LA, and I always wanted to come out to LA, so we ended up moving here in 2000. And as I was trying to like find my way, I could produce, I could edit.
You could do everything.
Yeah, and I just kind of felt like editing was a place where everything comes together, and that's where you can tell your story, and whatever you shot really just comes together in post-production. So Joe had a friend who had another friend who worked with one of my first bosses at Blind Date, and basically gave me
Blind Date, the reality
show,
which we'll get into even more.
Yeah, and so I gave him a call. I had Joe help me put together a demo, and went in, interviewed, showed my demo, and that's basically how I got my first job.
And that's how you got your first job.
Yeah.
And you have just been going and going and going and going since in all your editing. Before we get into some of the stuff, and obviously I want to just tell the audience here that you have you're now you edited film, but now you're in the reality space, I should say.
Sure.
With the Amazing Race. We'll talk about that in a second. The Amazing Race, Dancing with the Stars. So many, the Big Brother, RuPaul's Drag Race, so many that you have done. I guess my question is this, because editing is such a fine art that so many people don't know. I know that I even remember a film that I did years ago, and my director edited on a flatbed.
Oh yeah.
He wanted to do that because that's the way his father did. It was for the movie A Spit on Your Grave. And Terry Zarki wanted to edit like his father, Mayor Zarki, so he did it on a flatbed. It took him almost, a long time. I don't know exactly time-wise, but a long time. So you go from the flatbed of yesteryear to this time right now. What's the overall difference between editing a movie and editing a reality show?
Well, you wouldn't be able to do a reality show on a flatbed or anything like, the old way of tape to tape. We talk about this all the time. It's like there's no way, we don't have the time to do that. And I guess the way I've always learned how to edit was I always had to think how to tell the story without touching anything first. And I find that a lot of young editors or young people that are up and coming that have never done that, and they're just used to this non-linear editing, you tend to just like, let me just put something together and I can fix it later without really telling a story. And so I feel like, with filmmaking, you have this story that's already scripted, and you have your shots and stuff like that. So you have to tell this story based on your script. But in nonfiction reality TV, you're developing this story and trying to tell a story based on what is being filmed and what we call reality. And so sometimes you find that you have to stretch out moments in time in order to like bring out that drama or bring out the funny and things like that. And so there, reality television editors get a slack for not being like, you're not an editor, or we can't really dive into the scripted world because we don't know how to tell those stories and stuff like that. But I've actually seen the other way around, and they don't succeed in reality television because there's no script.
Right.
And so I feel like it's harder to make a reality television show because we're developing these characters and we're developing these storylines that we have to tell across a story arc throughout the series or throughout the episode. So I find that that's like a challenge sometimes.
Yeah. And like you said, to find the funny, especially reality TV, we all know there's a lot of funny in reality TV, and there's a lot of, you have to look through, I guess the question is this. Editors, in my mind, might have to work some of the longest hours. Is this true or not?
It depends on the show. And it depends on your producing team. I think it also depends on once you get your network notes and the network hates it, that kind of thing, and then you have to go back and
that's got to burn you.
Yeah,
right?
I mean,
when especially hey, this is the way I love this, and then network comes in and they go, no, guys, got to change it.
Right, and it happens all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen shows that are locked. They're locked, ready to deliver, and then the network comes back and unlocks them and says, "Oh, we have one more pass that we want to do." And so that not only is expensive for the production company, you also have the time that you have to do it, and it unravels the whole, the whole momentum of having to put this one episode together that was great when it locked.
Yeah, when you're locked. Yeah. Well, there's so much to dig into here and go deep with you because there's just so much. Your career is like all over the place, and I don't want to miss things. I'm going to go back. I'm going to do this, but. Whose idea was it? Because, we talk about Joe, your partner. Whose idea was it? Who came up with Terratoons? I want my audience to know that you guys are, Terratoons is, owned by you guys. Terratoons 1, 2, 3, 4, everything that has to do with Terratoons. Craziness. Who came up with that idea and, where'd that
that's a Joe Castro question because him and one of his friends actually came up with the idea. Basically, I just kind of came in to help him produce, and I edited the very first one, or I've done all of them, but like the first one, I was doing editing and visual effects at the time. And Joe basically like came up with this idea of creating these cartoon characters that come to life and kill people in cartoon ways. And they come out of a television, and I think that was my idea. Was the only idea that I kind of inputted was that they come from a DVD and they come through the television, or basically that it was just the DVD idea, and they come out of the television and they kill people in cartoon ways. And we were very successful when we made the first one. It was in every Blockbuster and Hollywood Video in 2002, and it was one of the highest grossing micro-budget films of that year. And so we decided to do a second one, and we brought in a producer that came and helped us pay for some of it, because the first movie we shot in 3 days for $2,300, and we shot it I think for I don't remember
how many
the
hours.
Well,
how
that's
many
the
hours?
thing. I'm trying to think. I think it was like 14, 18, and
25
20 something.
Possibly.
Yeah,
I did a little homework on you guys. That's crazy.
The last day the sun was still coming up and we were trying to finish the
Unbelievable.
film.
Yeah, I think I might have even read something. You shot 25 hours in 24 25 hours of footage in 24 hours of a day.
Right.
Which, it's like, how do you do that?
Yeah, and we put this film together, and it was a cult hit.
It's a cult classic. It's amazing. I mean, you guys have, and together as a team, you have done a lot of other things together. I'm guessing.
We've done. Joe's directed 19 features. I think I've done about half of those.
And directed and produced.
I've directed one. but I produced with him and edited all the, well, most of them. Not some of them. He was a hired director and someone else edited, but most of the stuff that we work on together, I edit everything. So
How has editing changed over the years from when you started to now?
well, I remember the 80s music videos was very flashy and stuff like that. You know, it's still, I think because of social media, things have kind of gone back to that flashiness. But there was a time in the 80s and 90s that stories were just being told without any effects and stuff like that. And I think now the stories are being told quicker because people have less attention span.
Yeah.
And so you have to give them everything in that 10 seconds or 20 seconds in order to get their attention.
Yeah.
And so I think that's one way of, in my opinion, I think that's how it's kind of changed.
Yeah,
You used to be able to have more attention span.
More attention span. Are you constantly learning new techniques
All the time.
to edit?
I try.
Are they books, or are you going online like you were just talking about?
No,
Are you learning from other editors?
Other editors. I think seeing how they cut, especially the younger ones coming up, seeing how they cut, and some of them are good at storytelling, and then they throw that extra little pizzazz or the extra flair that the producers like. So it's oh wow, now I've got to learn how to do this in order to be able to fit in style and of the show, or is this the new reality style that people are doing? So I have to learn that.
Yeah. Do you ever look back and go, wow, all the stuff that I've learned, it's incredible, kind of where I started?
I guess I really haven't been able to stop because you always have to keep up. I mean, as I'm getting older, I don't want to age out in that whole bit. But
well, look, you have done, I believe, over 400 episodic reality driven or reality shows. Over 400, which is incredible. Yeah. You have done it seems like your resume just kind of reads on and on. You have done everything, and we mentioned a lot of them earlier, but and you even talked about Blind Date, and you talked about a dating show, and probably, I'm guessing a dating show is a lot different than The Amazing Race.
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
And for The Amazing Race, which you have done that show incredibly well. You're on Big Brother now, and you've been doing that for how many years?
I just finished my 18th season.
18th season.
Yeah.
See, the audience is probably now really kind of figuring out how deep we are going and how much more there is still to go. But I want to share something.
Sure.
For The Amazing Race. Do you have any really good story about The Amazing Race?
Well, if you want, I brought something to show you.
You did. Can we bring it on and show this little?
This is something that the editing team.
Look at this, guys! This is incredible. This is incredible. Congratulations on winning the Emmy.
Thank you.
What a unbelievable, beautiful statue this is. It's just unbelievable. How did this feel when this all happened?
Well,
tell us about it.
That's all a dream. I remember my mom visiting one time, and we drove by the TV Academy, and they have that big statue outside. And I think I told my mom, in 5 years, I'm going to have an Emmy. Wow. I told her that. And I was fortunate to be on the show, or to be hired to edit, and I worked there 3 years, and the team had already been winning Emmys. The show won, I believe, 7 in a row. The editing team won two before this one, so they won 3. And I came in and basically was just trying to fit into the mold of the show and trying to tell that story, because The Amazing Race it's a hard show to put together.
I would imagine.
Because not only there's, it starts with 13 teams, and each team has one cameraman and one audio person. Oh my God. And so at the time, now today I think producers are able to get on the Avid and edit a string out. Basically, they just put together their story of what they want us to tell. Before, they were just putting it on paper. So we were having to just like block the whole show out and say, okay, this team arrives at this time, and then when they go to the next location, this team passes this person. So we're trying to figure out, okay, well, where's that pass? Because we have to show them either driving from one location to another, and then they pass, and we have to like find that footage of the car with the team and saying, we need to go, 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 go. And the thing about The Amazing Race is that if you ever watch the show, there is no like dead space.
Yeah.
Like we have to fill in every gap with
yeah.
sound and picture and everything, and the music is just, you know, driving you to the end and stuff. So, you know, the show also, I mean, we were also nominated for sound editing, because it's basically a sound feed. You know, you just have to fill in all that stuff. But being on the show and being with the caliber of editors that were there, you know, it's a great feeling.
Yeah, Steven, let me explain, or you explain to the audience that it's not just you when you're doing shows like this.
Right.
It's a huge editing team, is it not?
There's about 10 editors on The Amazing Race. There may be more now, and each one of us has an episode. But then as we're doing our episodes, we're also helping each other finish
their episode. Or
like if they're having trouble, like with usually it's like a 6-act show, and sometimes like one of the acts needs to be worked on a little harder, so we bring in other team members to help with that. But reality television is a team effort. It's not just like one person. So this also goes to the producers too, because they help us find all the footage that we don't have time to. Because you're looking at like hours of footage. In one episode it could be like 300 hours or something.
Well, it's incredible because when we watch a show like The Amazing Race or any of the shows, but you said like The Amazing Race, each team has one cameraman and one audio, just following them around, in and out. Obviously not getting in the cars with them, or maybe they are in the front seat, looking to the back, I'm guessing.
Right. They're the team members are on one side of the car, and then the other and then the crew's on the other side.
And then and then you have other shots. You have, I'm guessing there's some, nowadays it's probably drone shots and what have you, of the cars going all over the place. But just to have one audio and one camera person with each team, I mean, I can only imagine the amount of footage you guys have to look through.
Right, because it's not only like those cameramen, but when they arrive on location and they start doing a challenge, then you have like 8 cameras.
You have
And
are all those camera people from the team in the States, or are those some of them hired elsewhere?
I believe all of them come from the States. I think a lot of them who do live in the area, they just hire them to come in for
day
those.
Player or whatever.
Yeah, and they probably like whatever country they decide to go to.
Yeah.
But the majority of the people that are following the contestants are from the States.
Okay. Do you ever go on set, or is it strictly you're strictly in an office, at a studio, or at home? I'm guessing, especially through the pandemic, you probably had to work from home a lot.
The only time that I've ever been on set or in the studio is on Big Brother, because that is basically we have 2.5 days to produce an episode, and so production's happening. Where it's basically a sound stage and we're just all there, and so that's the only time I've ever been like part of the production team.
Yeah. I mean, it's incredible. And this, I mean, I look at it every time I look at it, I'm just like, I mean, all of us in the, all of us in the industry would love to have a beautiful award like that. It is something else to get to that level. And this is not, I mean, you were nominated 3 other times. Am I correct?
That's correct.
3 other times. So, I mean, just to have just one, I mean, I can only imagine. I mean, I'm sure it's on a beautiful shelf at home or above the fireplace or whatever. Hopefully not in a box someplace. But, I mean, this is just beyond. I mean, you could stop what you're doing today and you have already been decorated a lifetime. This is beautiful. I mean, it's great. I mean, again, it's probably, it's probably coming off of my face, just the gold of it. I mean, and I know you had said earlier I could pick it up.
Yeah, go ahead.
Let me tell you, this is quite heavy. This is a good, I'm gonna say a good 10, 12 pounds at least.
Yep.
Take it to the gym a little bit.
That's right. Well, one of the funny stories that I have to kind of tell is, the technical Emmys happened the week before the regular Emmys. And so the year that we won, we were told, okay, you can go to the Emmy parties the following week. And so we all decided that we were going to take our Emmy, and we got into the I think it was the Entertainment Tonight party at the Disney Hall.
Fun.
And so we, basically just kind of walked in. They let us in. It took a little bit of convincing, but some of the people were like, "Yeah, I'll just let them in." And so me and Joe were able to go in, and I brought 2 other friends. And the first person that came up to me was John Boyd.
Oh my!
And that was like, at the time, I wish I had a camera. We didn't have. I think that was the year that the iPhone came out.
Oh, just kidding.
But it came out like 2 months later,
Yeah.
and so none of us really had a camera, and we didn't think about it. But I really wish I had it, because he came up to me and shook my hand and said, "Congratulations."
That's amazing.
And I was just like, "Oh wow, this is awesome."
Yeah, it's surreal.
Yeah.
Right? It's surreal when a star or somebody that we've been looking at for years, but you earned it.
Yeah.
You earned it. I mean, it's
a lot of
it's
hard
your
work.
baby. Yeah, it is a lot of hard work. But you're continuously busy. Even nowadays, you've got so much going on. I don't even think any of us really could understand the editing process, because it does go really deep and what have you. What advice would you give to up and comers, people who are out there who are saying, "Hey, I want to get into editing. I have no clue. Steven's story is great, but I don't know. I didn't check. I didn't check with the classes or college or this or that or whatever."
Right.
And maybe people that are already in it, but they don't know how to take that next turn. What kind of advice can you give?
The advice I give now is that you have no excuse. If you want to do this, you have to do it. You have to do the work. The editing software's there. You have Final Cut Pro. You have Adobe Premiere. You have DaVinci now. In Avid, and most of these are like Avid. You can get a free copy for student. If you're a student, you can get a free copy.
Oh, that's great to know.
And so my advice is just like, if you're a filmmaker, you want to do this, just shoot something. Make your mistakes now rather than make them when you have a job, because if you have that level of like professionalism when you find that job, then you'll do great. But I just tell people, you don't have an excuse. I had an excuse because I couldn't afford $50,000 of equipment at the time,
Yeah.
And so I had to just find my way and find these jobs that gave me that experience. But it's like, if you feel that you want to do this, just do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Write a script.
Well, I think write a script, exactly, and do it. And I think the programs that you just mentioned, because I don't know what they are. Obviously, I'm not an editor or want to be, but I think that it's helping anybody who does want to be an editor. Every program you just mentioned, and I would just say play it back and listen to those programs again, because it's very important. It's coming from Steven Escobar, who knows everything. Look. You've got and I keep going back to this about how much you have done over the years and different things that different heights that you have hit. Even with this, you also are, you and Joe, who's going to be a future guest of mine as well, are world record holders. I'm just going to say one thing to you, and if you could go off on it.
Right.
155 kills.
Right. Well, that's we hold the record for a movie we did back in 2012 called The Summer Massacre. And when we were producing it, we were talking about, hey, how many kills do you think we can do? And we want to set a record, a world record. And so I contacted Guinness World Record and told them, I think we came up with some other category, and I think it was like the most deaths or something like that. But they're so specific about what they want. So they told us, basically, if you can set the record for the highest body count in a slasher film, and it's a slasher film, they only gave us 50. So we decided, well, 50 is easy because we can do that. So we decided to do 155. And in order for them, like when you have a movie, like usually when Guinness does like record holders, they always have a judge that they have to bring in. And stuff. But in this case, they say you have to have 2 independent people confirm all the deaths. So I had to go and find 2 different people. One of them was my professor. Another one was a good friend of mine who was a producer. And both of them, I had to just kind of put the time codes and put where the deaths were. They confirm it, and then they write a letter to Guinness on their own, send all the information in. And then, like, I think almost a year later, we found out we got a letter that we got the Guinness World, we hold the record now.
Amazing.
And
Amazing. That's really interesting.
Yeah. And so I think we've been quoted on several other, like, little things. I think when one of the 007 movies, the James Bond movies, I think they blew up, there was a scene where they blew up this big old, I think it was like a warehouse or something. And we were quoted as, like, other record holders are, Steve Escobar, Joe Castro for the Summer Massacre. So
that is so
it's
cool.
it's kind of it's kind of cool when you get, like, put in with these other big movies that you look up to.
And I can't imagine any movie's going to surpass that for a long time. I mean, first, like, especially nowadays. Look, we're slasher films are they're all over the place, but to have 155 kills, and I mean, I'm sure some of them were quite gruesome, and we won't go there, but that's that's a record that I'm sure is going to hold for a while. In one word, what's your worst part about editing? If you could say one word, or if you had a little story, but what's the worst memory, or what's the worst thing about editing? Is there any one thing that's...
I mean, the worst part is, like, you do all that hard work, and then you get network notes, or you get notes that are contradictory, even though you know that this is the way it's going to go, and then it ends up coming back to that original edit.
Bites you in the butt.
Yeah, and then you wasted all that time.
You wasted all that time.
That's the worst part.
Yeah. And the best?
The best is just, like, working with a group of people that want to do what you want to do. We're all a team, and we all, like, produce something that millions of people get to watch every week. It's one of the, I always call editing, it's the silent art. It's you don't, if you see the editing, if you see the edit, then you're not doing your job. It's
got to be that quick.
Well, it's got to be, like, nobody's supposed to notice it. If people notice your edits, then you're not really doing your job correctly. Should be, it's a silent art,
And is there anything that, I mean, besides reality TV now, which you do so much of, is there anything else you want to do that you haven't done?
Well, I'm going to law school right now.
You want to become a lawyer?
I want to become an entertainment lawyer, just because, we do independent films, and I hear so many stories of independent filmmakers not being able to make their money back when they have distributors come in, and they don't have the money to go after the distributors, and they get away with their movie, and they've spent all their time and money and blood and sweat and tears, and they lose out on that opportunity. Why are the independent filmmakers the ones that are getting screwed when, like, studio films and stuff, everyone's making money? That's
great. That's great.
So
well, good luck, and good luck on I'll be calling you counselor in the future, and that.
Well, we'll see. Still got a couple of years before.
But you can, and you will, and like you said, if you don't do it now, when do you do it? I mean,
exactly.
It's all about having a passion, and any of us in the industry, we have to have a passion to get to where we are right now.
Sure.
And for us to even be doing this right now, we didn't just do this by opening up a briefcase and starting. We have all put our time in, and I really cannot tell you how much I appreciate you putting your time into the business, helping the audience learn a little bit about editing, a little bit about filmmaking, and a little bit about you. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you for
seriously,
having me.
Steven. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
There might be more.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah.
Did it feel good?
Yeah.
Anything we left out?
No. I mean, no, there isn't. I wanted to bring something up, and I'm glad I did.
Really?
Well, the funny thing. Well, going back to that Tejano Country show.
Yeah.
When I won this, I had my old boss come in and he wrote me out of the blue saying, I see that you that you have in your resume, you have creator of the show, and there were a lot of people involved. And then he's like, I've been in this business a long time, and people like to rewrite history. And so I thought about it, and I just kind of
you left that out.
Well, then I responded back to him. I said, well, I'm sorry you feel that way. So I will change that to co-created, but I really don't use that credit anymore. And then on the fact of, on the point of rewriting history, I said, I don't rewrite history, I make history.
Yeah.
By being the first Latino in my hometown to win an Emmy.
Nice.
I said, but thanks for...
Yeah, but thanks for your...
Yeah.
And he's getting high right now at the, in the back room someplace.
He's I don't know, he's just a guy who came in, that thought he knew how to run a Latin show.
Yeah.
And he wasn't Latin.
Yeah.
And so, he was just a sales guy who was able to get all the shows into the market. The market, yeah. That's all he did.
When you did those shows, because I used to, years ago, I was a host of various shows that they were the country shows, but not the Latin market, and we would do them at truck stops of America. Mm-hmm. I'm guessing it was kind of similar to that.
Yeah, we would go to like fairs and like concerts and interview the artists, and then do like little 10-second things that say we're here and blah blah blah, and show off the place that we're at, and then here's your next video, that kind of thing. That's
so much fun.
Yeah,
so much fun.
It's fun.
Hey, I'm going to introduce you to a guy he's an executive producer of another film that I'm doing. Okay. But he's an entertainment lawyer. If you'd like to meet him.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Steven Lowe.
Oh, and I know Steven.
You do?
Yeah, he was our lawyer at one time.
Are you kidding me? Was he a good lawyer?
Yeah. I mean, he helped us out as much as we could afford.
Wow. Well, Steven and I, we just did a film. I was showing these guys.
Well,
it just came out in the AP today.
His wife had called me to try to help him out.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So
Yeah.
So you know him though.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if he remembers us.
Well, let's figure something out.